from us. Love wants you, we can bring it on the floor. Never danced like this before. We don't talk about it.
Hey guys, what's cracking? I don't know if I should start with that actually, considering this is a two-part video. So we are here with our friend Dan from Enteitainment.
Hello.
And so we are actually launching a new series.
Woo.
If you couldn't tell by the description. And so I guess the best thing to start with is just what this series is. So Dan, you want to start?
Well, we came up with the name Meta in the Morning together because it's just catchy, and we're hoping that it will stick and that you guys will enjoy it. I don't know if these will actually be uploaded in the morning, but Meta in the Morning is just such a flawless name that can't really pass that one up. But the idea...
Maybe we'll... Go ahead.
Oh, you can go. Well, anyways, the idea is to sort of make a sort of series that's not really about the gameplay, but more about discussing different terms in Pokemon that people might not fully understand, and that we can sort of help you get a greater understanding of Pokemon, competitively anyways, and hopefully give you some tips on how to improve your competitive gameplay if that's something you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, and as far as the name Meta in the Morning goes, something I'm just imagining is like maybe you guys could like listen to this, on your way to work in the morning, or like say you're like eating breakfast, you don't know what to do, you can listen to Meta in the Morning and just like start your day off right with some Pokemon.
Exactly. So there's not going to be a lot happening on the screen. It's really just going to be our voices and maybe some background image that relates to what we're actually talking about. But really it's going to be a podcast, just our voices, and the hope is that you guys will be able to leave ideas for our next episodes down in the comment section, and we'll of course address those. If there's some overwhelming clamor for a certain topic, then we would of course address that, and that would be excellent if you guys could leave ideas down there.
Yeah, for sure. Just because like we do have some ideas that we have brainstormed before starting the series, just to, like sustain it for a little while, but a lot of the series and what it's going to depend on is the fans or people who listen to the series just like kind of contributing and like saying, oh, I really want to hear about this or that. So yeah, for sure, like Dan said, we just really want to any contributions you guys want to make is much appreciated.
Exactly. So I realized I didn't start the timer until just now, so I don't even know how long it's been. So that's
there's the audio recording thing.
That's true. Okay.
So we're all good.
So speaking of time, we're hoping to make these around 15-ish minutes, I think is the plan.
Yeah.
We don't want to hit you guys with like half an hour of audio, but
although if you want us to hit you with half an hour of audio, like just let us know in the comment section below.
Yeah, if it's really, we're trying to make this up to you guys as much as we possibly can. We really want to cater to your needs, as it were. And
so let us know like what kind of length you'd like to see, anything.
Yeah, so this will hopefully be sort of a fan-made series. It's going to alternate, similar to our Spin the Mega series, if you guys have been watching those. So this week's, I don't know, I still don't know if we're going to do weekly episodes or what. I think the plan is weekly. Do you want to talk about that?
I mean, the plan is weekly, but the plan for Spin the Mega was weekly originally as well.
Well,
so I mean, I think it'll depend a lot on like
the CSL.
First of all, yeah, that, but also just like so the CSL kind of goes into the category of like how busy we are in our own lives.
Yeah.
But also it'll go into kind of like just also what we have to talk about for a specific week. What like people want to see. If that requires maybe some research or something, or even just like if we're waiting to hear back from what people want or something,
Yeah, that makes sense. But anyways, so we're going to shoot for weekly, but obviously there's random factors that will affect that we can't really control. But we're going to try to have the odd-numbered episodes on Krakenation's channel, and then the even-numbered episodes can be found on my channel. and we'll just sort of alternate like that. Just because there's no real host in this episode, it's more about, or in these episodes, I should say, it's just more about us sort of talking together and explaining the different topics.
Yeah.
So I think that's about all we need to say about introducing the concept of the series, unless you have something to add.
Nope. I think that's pretty much
Pretty much
all
it.
we had to say about that.
All right.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, we're going to just get started here, and we're going to first be talking about suspect testing because, as some of you may know, Mega Sableye was just tested, and it caused, I don't know if it caused a disturbance, but it was definitely a thing that was going on.
Disturbance in the force.
Because Sableye is definitely a force to be reckoned with.
I think it was a suspect test that people had been discussing for a long time, at least in the possibility of it happening, even though the ban didn't end up resulting.
Right. So.
I think it was something that people wanted, and I think that's a good thing, just for people to experience what something is like to just know if a Pokemon's OP or not, overpowered or not. Well, that's something we'll talk about in this video, hopefully as well.
Right.
But I guess. Yeah, so we're just going to get right into how the process works. Anything to say?
Nope, I think that's it.
So, to start off, we can talk about the first part of the process is who decides to do a test. So, the OU, every tier actually has a council, is how it is. And I think it varies the number of people on the said council based on how popular the tier is or something like that. But every tier will have a council, and those council members are responsible for deciding when a Pokemon will receive a suspect test or when it will not. But they themselves aren't the ones responsible for the banning of a Pokemon, which is something that Smogon actually receives a lot of flack for, which is like, oh, they ban everything. But really, it's not the Smogon government or university or whatever you want to call it. They're not the ones responsible for the bans themselves. Yeah, that's something that I always get kind of upset about when people are get mad, but it's actually the community that decides on what the result of a suspect test will be.
Interesting. I'm just gonna get this out of the way. I don't know as much about this as Krakenation does, so he's gonna be handling most of the topics today because I myself am not the most learned in terms of the meta and how it's shaped and stuff like that. So he's going to be probably talking about most of this, but do you happen to know how many members are actually on the council?
I do not, but
is it more for per tier?
Yeah, there's the highest, so looking it up right now, the OU council consists of 5 players.
Oh, okay.
Who although this might be an outdated article, I'm not sure. Yeah, I really don't know actually.
But not an overwhelming number.
Oh, never mind, that was an old one. On May 17th it was posted, the OU council is 7 people.
Okay.
So, yeah, the bigger the tier, the more council members it'll usually have. Especially just the more popular,
Bigger the tier, in terms of popularity or in terms of Pokemon?
Exactly. In terms of how many people play it.
Okay.
Just because they want to have more representation, I guess, or something.
That makes sense.
It's not exactly a clear-cut process as to how someone makes the council. It kind of just comes being a reputable player for a long time in the community.
Mm-hmm. Goals.
Yeah, I wish. I would love one day to be on the OU council. But alas. But so those are the people that decide to do the test.
But then the players themselves actually vote.
Are the ones who, but again, as most of you probably realize, there's something called recs, which is short for requirements, and not all players get to vote. And the rec requirement will generally vary from test to test. Generally tends to be between 2,600 and 2,700 coil. Coil is a number that's going to be based on the amount of game. Well, I don't know the exact equation. It's based on the number of games you've played, your win-loss ratio, and how many points you have total. But also one thing that factors a lot into your coil is what part of the ladder you lost your games on. So if you're losing, your games in like let's say the 1100s, your coil is never going to be very high. But if you start losing games, because you get to a point in the ladder where you start to peak out, just every player does.
Yeah.
But if you get to the ladder around 1400, 1500, and then start to lose, your coil will peak much higher, and therefore you'll be more likely to get above the 2700 mark. Because how many games you play does affect it, a lot of suspect tests will place a ban limit, a limit on how many games you're allowed to play. So I know that Landers Eye was 85. I think Mega Sableye was either 80 or 60, some even number like that.
And the council decides on these requirements?
Yeah, so all these specific requirements are decided on by the council. It's actually, this is a topic of controversy as well, as a lot of suspect is all controversy based, really. But because a lot of players say that always seems like only the same players can make the ban, like make the requirements to vote for ban or no ban every single time. Only like the Smogon Elite, or not really elite, but just like it's not super accessible to all players.
Right.
Which again, feel free to talk about in the comment section below whether that's for the best or not. Because on one hand, you're right that it's always the same people representing the banning or no ban community, but on the other hand, like these tend to be the players that know the most about the game. If that makes it's an interesting balance there. They always they don't want to set it too high where nobody can make it, but they don't want to set it too low where somebody can make it in like one night and then just make an opinion that's based on nothing.
Yeah.
All
right.
So yeah, and as far as percentage you need to pass a ban, you're actually gonna need usually I think it's 60% majority.
I believe
pass
it was
a
60
ban.
for Sableye. Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of suspect tests have come very close to that. I know Aegislash was barely banned. Metagross was barely not banned. Sableye was pretty safe though. It was almost, I think it was 53%. And the point of suspects from tier to tier will vary a lot. As far as like some suspect test ladders will ban the Pokemon on the ladder itself, and some will not. It's an interesting thing that they do. It's just they say OU generally tends to ban that Pokemon that's being suspected from the ladder to experiment with how the meta feels without it. As people saw when Mega Sableye got banned, Pokemon like Mega Medicham became super crazy dominant forces very quickly, which I think was part of the reason it didn't get banned, was because it was about to just send off a whole new wave of bans that weren't necessary before. But other tiers, like UU, when they're banning something, they tend to leave it on the suspect ladder, I think. Because there's arguments to be made on both sides. Sometimes you want to be able to see what you're banning and see if it's ban-worthy when you're trying to ban it.
Right.
Yeah, that's all I have to say about that. This video is getting there already.
Talk a lot about the testing process. That usually goes on for a week or something, right?
I think usually this process is set for 2 weeks.
2 weeks, okay.
Although it might be less actually. You might be right.
I'm not sure.
I don't think it's not usually just a week, because I'm pretty sure it's not just a week, but it might not be 2 weeks either.
Interesting. Well, we're gonna hop really quick to our next topic, which is ban lists. It's definitely relates to suspect testing, but we're just gonna talk about quickly sort of what makes a Pokemon bannable and why they banned, and sort of different
start us off.
terms about that. So, in my opinion, although obviously I don't know a whole lot about it, Pokemon tend to be banned when you can say that the meta is over-centralized around said Pokemon. And I think that means that more often than not, you'll see that Pokemon on any given team. Like, a lot of players are using it, and it's affecting team building, because other players are going to have to put Pokemon on their team specifically for that Pokemon. And that can be really damaging, because then if you don't happen to see that centralized Pokemon, whatever counter you put on your team is essentially going to be not worthless, but it's not going to be as good as a different Pokemon you could have used. So that centralizing, I think, is definitely the biggest thing.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head, honestly. If I can flesh that out a little bit more, you're right that over-centralizing essentially that you'll see it on every team, and a lot of what goes into the concept of over-centralizing is that people say it's kind of goes into opportunity cost, in which put it there's such a big cost to not putting that Pokemon on your team that everybody's putting it on their team, because there's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if everybody else is running, you might as well run it, because no Pokemon is as good as that, kind of. And so it becomes apparent on every team. And then the concept of niche checks, niche counters start to be a thing. Where, like, this is the reason Shadow Tag got banned, and I'm totally pro Shadow Tag ban, is because a lot of Pokemon will start randomly running, like, Shed Shell Togekiss just to beat Mega Sableye plus Gothitelle. Just because, and that's like, but the problem with a lot of niche Pokemon, like Mega Salamence, the only good counters to it were like, good even, not even counters, but checks or something, was like Choice Scarf Greninja and like Eviolite Porygon 2, who are basically dead weight on teams.
Yeah.
If you aren't like seeing that one Pokemon, which is exactly what you said, like they're not as effective. They start to become very. You said like these Pokemon aren't very effective. That's like the concept of like a niche check is like, which you'll see a lot. It's like its counters, its checks are very niche. So you'll see that on a lot of the suspect threads, because like, yeah, like Shed Shell Togekiss is one of those few Pokemon that can beat both Gothitelle and Sableye. So stuff like that is what forced a lot of these Pokemon out of the tier.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right, that makes sense. So do you want to talk about the different terms, like what 4 move slot syndrome is, maybe?
Sure. So, 4 move slot syndrome, which is kind of relevant to actually our next one of the topics we want to go over, which is banning in draft-based play, which relates to the CSL. But 4 move slot syndrome is essentially when a Pokemon has good stabs and good coverage moves or good utility moves. It just has a problem where it really always wants to run more than just the 4 moves it has. There are some Pokemon that never need to run more than their 4 moves. And when I think of moves that like Pokemon that don't suffer from 4 move slot syndrome, I think of like Haxorus comes to mind.
Yeah.
Who has like Dragon Dance, Earthquake, Dragon Claw, Poison Jab is perfect for Haxorus. And like it doesn't need anything else. But there are Pokemon like Metagross or like Greninja or like Weavile who have really great coverage move pools. And like if we look at Weavile in the current meta, Weavile always wants to run Ice Shard, really for priority. It wants to run Knockoff for sure for that stab, but it also wants to run Icicle Crash for a stronger, reliable move, or semi-reliable. But it also wants to run Low Kick to hit Tyranitar and Bisharp, who otherwise wall it. But it also wants to run Poison Jab to hit fairies. But a lot of them also want to run Pursuit to trap Latios, and stuff like that. So you start to see very quickly, like, you don't have enough space. And this concept is called 4 move slot syndrome.
So just when you have more than 4 moves that you would ideally run on a Pokemon.
And it becomes tough to pick.
Right.
And that actually plays a lot into team building, is what you decide to build with is like what you decided not to run.
Right.
But the reason that Pokemon, what I want to say about that is that the reason 4 move slot syndrome Pokemon tend to be the ones banned in competitive draft-based leagues, which is going to be like Hoop on Bound, Greninja, Mega Metagross, even Manaphy to an extent, is these Pokemon that suffer from more 4 move slot syndrome, when they're put in a situation where they know the team they're going to be playing against, and they can like select their coverage like perfectly, they're going to be able to select their coverage perfectly, and all of a sudden 4 move slot syndrome is the best thing in the world because you have all the options that could possibly ever want.
Right.
Yeah. So do you want to talk about what no switch-ins means?
Sure. Well, what that tends to mean to me is that you have a Pokemon that is so immensely powerful. I know I've seen this a couple times when you use Mega Medicham, and I'm sure this happened with Mega Salamence, and then of course Mega Rayquaza making a tier of its own because it has no switch-ins, which effectively means that there's no Pokemon in the tier who can comfortably switch into an attack and take less than half, at least reliably. That's what I think it means.
Yeah, that's really accurate.
It's obviously very damaging because if you can't switch into a Pokemon, it means that it's so strong that you just have to sack something in order to get something else in for safe, which doesn't always work, obviously. If it happens to be a really fast, really hard hitter, sometimes sacking members of your team isn't good enough, especially if your scarfed user is already dead. So I think no switch-ins has to do with that, as well as maybe making it hard to revenge kill,
Yeah.
which is just sort of what I already said, sacking a Pokemon and then trying to get something in safely. It doesn't always work if a Pokemon doesn't really have any reliable switch-ins.
And that's exactly like you said. Pokemon that, a lot of Pokemon that we see that have been banned are Pokemon that suffer or that damage everything and have no switches. That's like Landorus Eye, Greninja, Rayquaza, Salamence, you know? Exactly.
Right, because with Gunk Shot, with Greninja getting Gunk Shot, even
Fairies couldn't
Fairies
switch it
no
anymore.
longer switched in. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
which was
and that's what
obviously
finally
terrifying. Yeah.
pushed it over the edge. And even like Greninja even got like Power Up Punch to hit like Chansey, which was crazy.
Yeah. What a disgusting Pokemon.
I love Greninja though.
Greninja's crazy, yeah.
There's a big outcry to bring Greninja back right now.
I haven't been spending time in Ubers, but it seems like it's not really used.
Oh, it's never used in Ubers. But like that's the kind of the thing about the Ubers tier. It's like this really walks this very awkward middle ground where it's both a ban list for OU, but also its own tier.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of became a validated tier once Mega Rayquaza got banned.
Right.
Where they set a precedent, like there are things too strong for Ubers, and so like usage in Ubers isn't really a premise for unbanning to OU, but there's like apparently some people argue that like it would be a very healthy part of a new metagame,
right?
Which leads us into our next topic.
That would. Do you want to go into it? Because I think we're hitting like 20 minutes right now.
So
we might as well just go all the way.
We want to talk about what a healthy metagame is, and that's such a hard thing to talk about. Actually, like I don't even know much about this because I feel like I've never seen one achieve.
Yeah, this might be a pretty quick section, anyways, because neither of us really fully understand what a healthy metagame is. You can feel free to leave ideas down in the comment section.
What I feel like what a healthy meta is trying to achieve. What people are trying to achieve with that is a meta where no Pokemon is overpowered. Every Pokemon has a sufficient number of checks, a sufficient number of counters. But will that ever be really possible?
I don't think so.
That's that's kind of like the problem with communism, you know? Like it sounds great, but like it's not possible.
Right.
Like it kind of goes down that road where like things might sound good and like where everything is perfect, but it's not a perfect world.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
dystopia.
Anything want to say with that?
No, I mean we ended on communism, so I think we should probably end this episode before it starts to get out of hand.
I might have to make that one of the background pictures.
So I think that's gonna do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That went well. I wasn't actually expecting us to have that long an episode, but apparently we can blabber on about suspect testing for quite a long time.
That went well. I tried to focus on talking slowly because something I do in a lot of my videos is I talk way too fast.
Yeah, I get that.
So I try to talk at a normal pace.
Yeah. Yeah, if you guys want to give us any helpful hints in the comments, or you want to, of course, leave your ideas for next topics, we do have a running list right now, so we're not going to like run dry if nothing is suggested in this particular episode, but it would be great if you guys wanted to suggest some ideas and we could actually like directly help you guys out is sort of the idea for this series.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
So yeah, I think if you want to just go ahead and do your outro, I think that's going to do it.
All right, yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video. As Dan said, feel free to, or please do, leave comments in the comment section below talking about what you want to see. Like, comment, subscribe to both myself and Entertainment, of course. His link will be in the description below. His Emerald series has recently come to a close, so I can't talk about that anymore. But he's our CSL runner-up this past season, which is pretty cool. So definitely go check him out. Yeah, all right. So I think that'll do it for us.
Bye.
Bye.